Okay, so thank you everyone for joining this webinar today hosted by A2K Technologies. My name is Samuel McAllister and I'm a Senior Technical Sales Specialist in the AEC department at Autodesk. The presentation is going to cover our collaboration for Revit. The full name is Autodesk A360 Collaboration for Revit, which can sometimes be a bit confusing. So today I'm going to try and clarify the differences between A360 Team, A360 Drive, and A360 Collaboration for Revit. The short abbreviation for Collaboration for Revit is, we're calling it C4R. So that might make things a little bit clearer as opposed to all the A360s. For anybody new to webinars, over on the right-hand side of your webinar interface, we have a questions and chat box. So everybody will be muted, but if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box or the question box. And at the end of the presentation, we can run some Q&A and try and field some of those questions. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to look at business issues that companies are experiencing and how C4R can address that. We're going to clarify the difference between A360 Team and A360 Collaboration for Revit. We're also going to answer some common questions. So for about a year now, Collaboration for Revit has been rolled out in North America, and there's been a lot of back and forth questions between some of the adopters. And so we've got some answers to some of those common questions that those North American clients have had, which we'll field today as well. And then finally, we'll give you a site or several sites where you can find out resources like things to do with Autodesk Trust, Autodesk Knowledge Network, and then how you can find out how to find out more information about this application and how to get support for it. So if we start off with the first section, business issues. So the current reality is, what are these factors driving the need for improved BIM collaboration? And number one is building project complexity. So what we have here is a graphic. It's kind of an abbreviation of the Autodesk wheel, and it's explaining a project that was done in China and the stakeholders who work on this project and when they actually join the project at various stages. So you can see here on the bottom left where we kick off the wheel, we've got architecture firms like Tadeo Ando and KPF collaborating with engineers, moving further around the wheel into the construction and fabrication stages of the project, right through to owner, operator, and facilities maintenance and management. We also have factors influencing how we share the data. So I hear from a lot of our customers, they share data on FTP sites or Dropbox as a common sharing platform, or maybe they've got to look at a more expensive way of sharing data. Maybe they've got to invest in the Citrix environment or Panzura, or they look into implementing a Revit server, but they've still got to have the right IT resources and IT infrastructure to set this up. So it can be very inefficient when sharing the data between different firms, either inside your firewall or outside your firewall. There can be a lot of friction here. And then finally, there's a lot of disconnected communication. So you can see here on the left, we've got the old silo picture. People are not being able to communicate outside their silos. People in different parts of the world, you want real-time information. You want to be able to instantly communicate with them on the project while you're working on it. You don't want to have to be writing emails and to pick up the phone and do all that sort of stuff. So these are some of the issues that we have where we want to try and communicate BIM collaboration. We've had A360 Team out for a while now. This is not collaboration for Revit. This is different to A360 Drive. A360 Team is a separate application which is sold for about $140 so here in Australia. It's a tool that will read Revit files natively, plus numerous other applications, and you're going to be able to push your Revit model up there to do markups, reviews, measurements, live sections, and share with other stakeholders who aren't, say, the authors of the project. So if we look at this graphic, again, it's based on the wheel, where we have different people working on the projects and how they communicate the information. So whether it's emails, in-person, markups, meetings, and issues, the A360 team is going to be able to capture this type of collaboration. So it's not for the authors or the people doing the renderings or the CAD or the Revit files. It's more for the people who want to comment on the model, check certain components, and then provide real-time feedback as opposed to printing stuff out, marking it up, doing screen captures, putting spreadsheets and all sorts of stuff, and then emailing and distributing it to all. Okay, so this is the diagram representing A360 Team, and it covers these three core principles. Number one being the authors or the users of the building. So here we have the diagram for the people. So we've got the designers, the contractors, the owners, the people going to maintain it. All these people who need to access the information in A360 Team. Over here on the right, we have the information, so the file format of the information, so whether it's renderings or instruction videos, schematics, plans, models, drawings, documents, all of this can be housed and read natively on the A360 Team platform. So it's going to be geared up to read 100 different file formats. So once it's up there on the cloud, you can open and view and mark up your Revit file on the cloud on A360 Team. Not many other cloud hosting services can do that. And then finally, it's going to track the correspondence. So instead of having to write emails, you can add the information or add it to the hub, to the thread, and then people on the team will get notified when there are meetings, when there are markups, when there are issues to address. So this is your one-stop shop for collaborating information on a project using A360 Team. The file formats that we have currently reading natively are the Autodesk applications, so Civil 3D, AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, Glue and InfWorks, plus we have numerous Microsoft applications and Adobe file formats. It will be geared up to read 100 file formats, so it's going to be a great place to store information, even if it's not from an Autodesk authoring tool. And A360 Team will also allow people to instantly share the information. You don't need to do too much in the admin. You just add someone's email address and they've got access to their A360 Team site. They don't need to sign up for stuff. They can get straight into it. And then this is what we're working on here in the center is numerous other file formats. So you can see the SolidWorks, CATIA, PTC files. All this data is going to be able to be read natively. It's not just Autodesk software specific. And then we're developing and working on the search tool to find all components of the model. So whether you're doing a manufacturing model or a building model, you can type in parameter names and it will go through that model, that entire model, find all those components and then isolate them for you in your viewer. This is the 360 site, so it's Autodesk360.com. The other one that you may have on subscription is A360 Drive. That's going to be 360autodesk.com. It contains features, pricing, blogs, community, information on the mobile app, so you can go to the iTunes store and get access to this tool on for your iPhone or your iPad, and then you can even do a trial of this one. And this is the interface, very clean, very simple. We have three main sections here: projects, data, people, and then for coordinating your calendars, you can have a calendar which will notify when people are away on holiday, for example, and a wiki help page, so you can have this set up for any information you need for your project. And then there's this daily activity feed here. So you're always going to see when people have tested the project or uploaded or created or downloaded. It's all going to be here in this live activity feed. Over here on the right, it's pretty simple. You can create projects, upload data very easily. You can drag and drop it in. And then under the hood over here on the right is your user, and you've got a few admin settings here which allow you to move between different hubs. The mobile interface. The mobile interface has a very clean and crisp interface. So when you fire it up on your iPad, you're going to be able to see your folder structure here. You're going to see graphics of the models. It's going to give you a little thumbnail of that model, of what you're searching for. When you open up the model, it's going to have the file hierarchy. So for those of you familiar with like selection trees with parent-child relationships, you're going to have a similar parts or model hierarchy here on the left, which allows you to navigate and isolate parts of the model. So if I just want to look at all the windows on the external south wall, I can go and navigate through to that and then isolate them and then go and do markups or measurements on those windows. Here on the right, adding points to actual model parts or actual items. A non-author can go here and they can add notes, select those objects and then add them to the activity feed. Then, as mentioned, it's going to be able to read those 100 different file formats. And there's also a markup and share your feedback tool. So you've got a little sketch tool. You can actually go and mark up those components, add notes, and then query that information. No more needing to have to PDF the data, print it out, have a senior associate mark it up, scan it, send it back. They can open this up on their phone, on their iPad, do the markup, and then feed it back to the team. Instant notifications, so this can go straight to your mobile device. You're going to get those notifications and then you can click on those notifications and go into the project. So with A360 Team, we move into A360 Collaboration for Revit, or what we're calling C4R. So this has been the evolution of Revit. It's about 18 years old now. It's been part of Autodesk since 2002. And when it was first set up, it was set up to work in a single location. It was firewalled, and it was people working on a building, say 5 stories, and they're using that localized, centralized model on their network. They would create their work sets and they would sync to central. The problem with this is that it was limited in terms of collaborating outside of their office. There was a lot of daily BIM management, and there was no internal activity tracking. We then introduced Revit Server, targeted towards the enterprise offices, which had multiple offices around different regions. So you could set this up. You had to have some good infrastructure and some very smart IT staff, but they could run this in multiple locations with the restrictions of the firewalls. The problem was, of course, it was a single enterprise firm. You had to invest in expensive hardware, get accelerators, and there was a bit of a slow data exchange using the system. So this is when we started bringing out what we call Project Skyscraper, which is now Collaboration for Revit. And this allows multiple companies to connect. There's no firewall issues. You can run it in multiple locations, and you're going to be able to control that managed access. And this is Collaboration for Revit. This is just a quick diagram just to explain the authors and the non-authors. So over here we've got the collaborators like the structural engineers, the mechanical engineers, maybe even the contractors doing different components of the models, syncing to central. But then you can push the data out from that central model on the cloud to A360 Team, to other project members who want to read the data. So once the Revit model is up in the cloud and people are syncing to central, making changes, when they're happy with the model of where it's at, it needs to be looked at by other stakeholders, they can then push the Collaboration for Revit model to A360 Team, and they can do the markups and the viewing and the measurements as shown in the first part of the presentation. Again, multi-firm concurrent authoring, very little, well, no IT setup required, fast integrated communication, which I'm going to show in a demo in a second, and BIM directly accessible to other cloud services. So this is something that's going to be coming out, and I'll show you a slide on this in a sec. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to move on from this in a second. This is just explaining what happens when we have our models on the cloud. You've got to link the Revit models on the cloud through A360, through the A360 site. When you make changes and you sync to central, it's not pushing the whole model up. It's just doing the delta changes. It only changes the prefetched information. It's only working with the cache data on your local machine, and then you sync to central, and it'll just do the changes that you made, not the whole entire model. So with that, I'm just going to flick over to Revit. And just a reminder, if anybody has any questions or anything they want to add in the chat window about anything that I've shown, please feel free to type it in, and I will be answering some questions at the end. So moving away from the PowerPoints, so this is my Revit application. I've got a 10 megabyte size model here. There may be a little bit of a lag just because we are running this through Citrix, and we're going to push the information through, so I can just see in the audience view there's a little bit of a couple seconds lag. It's not too bad. So what you have is when you purchase Collaboration for Revit, you'll get these tools featuring in your Collaborate tab. You're going to get Communicator, you're going to get Collaborate on A360. If you don't have work sets already enabled, they'll be grayed out, but when you hit the Collaborate on A360, it will start to create some default work sets. Over here on the right, you're going to have Manage Models as well, where you can start to look at the different views you want to send up to the cloud. So maybe you've got a whole lot of views that you don't want to send up, maybe you've got some that you do want to send up. You can pick and choose the ones you want. So maybe I want to reflect the ceiling plan, floor plan level 1, the site and the roof, and that's maybe all I want to have within the views. And then you can start to choose the sheets. Now, I haven't done too much with the sheets on this project, so I'll just choose a couple just for the sake of what we're doing. So we'll go save, set, and close. And we're going to now begin our Collaboration for Revit workflow. So I'm going to click on Collaborate on A360. It's going to ask me to save the model. And it's going to give me this pop-up where it's going to go through the first push of pushing the entire model to A360 Collaboration for Revit. So I've got a name here, and I will call this just something different because I've run this one a few times. So A2K webinar, demo 01. And then it's going to ask you to select a project. And what you do is when you set up your company's A360 site, you'll have a hub, and then within that hub you have all your projects. So you may have your healthcare project, your residential project, your interiors project. You can set up all these folders. So this one I've set up as Revit Collaboration A360, and I'm going to push it to that project and go initiate. And what it's going to do is it's going to think for a second, and then it's going to pop up with Collaborate using A360. So now it's pushing that model, and it's going to be saving the local cache. And if you didn't have work sets set up, it will create 2 work sets, one for your grids and then just one for your main work set 1. So while it's doing that, I just want to go back to A360 Team and just show you the hub that the project that I have in the hub here. So just to explain hubs, I'm a member of several hubs. So maybe a structural engineering firm might invite me to their hub. I've got some internal beta testing, my own personal one. And then I'm part of this one here, which is the Autodesk ANZ hub. And here you've got other things like admins, and inviting, and settings, and profiles. What I can do though within that hub, if I just go back one, is I can create several different projects. So all I do is I click on the create, and I can create a new project or messages and links or wiki pages. Then I can upload my folders. So if we just go down to the project, sometimes you may have a lot of projects here. There's a little search tool as well, which you can use. You can actually search it and it will find the information. You can also add logos, and you can instantly invite other people to collaborate with here. So I'm just going to click on the project and fire it up. And you're going to see here the activity feed. So even though I'm running a webinar through Citrix and I'm running Collaboration for Revit, you can see here the model's already gone up, the A2K webinar demo model. At the moment, there's no preview. What it's doing is it's converting the model to a lightweight DWF file, so it's quick to read. This is one that I ran yesterday. I'll just fire up the same model just so you can see the viewer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the view that people will see on A360 Team. So when you first push the model, it's instantly going to go to A360 Team. When you do the delta changes in the model, the team isn't going to see it until you push it across. Now, what I was doing with this one, I was bringing in a structural engineers model for actually another application, for another project, just to show you can bring this in. But what I've been doing here is I can click on the different versions. And let me just bring up one of these. Where are we? I can bring up this. We're on version 3 here. You can see up here it's version 3. It's going to do the markup. So you can see here someone didn't like the column in their house. We can go do notes and mark them up. So a more serious one might be here we want to comment on an object, comment on the garage door. Please confirm heights and material finish. You can see my bad typing and spelling. Material finish. And this may be the client. It may be the guy who's got to manufacture this, plus I don't know, lighting or something like that. And you can go add that comment, and now that is instantly in our activity feed here. So I can go here, click on another one, click on this one, and for someone who, let me just click on that. When I click on that one, it's instantly going to take me to the model. So it's really simple. I can also do screen captures as well, quick screen capture if someone needs to be more clear about what I'm looking at. And I can actually comment on an object as well. So maybe that particular footing there, I can comment on that and do the same thing. The other things for navigation purposes in A360 Team, you've got some orbit tools, pan, zoom, there's even a walk around tool. And this one will actually, if I just move this around, this will move it into perspective. You just use your arrow keys to walk around the model. So it's sort of similar to your Navisworks or BIM 360 products. We also have a section tool here. So let me just spin out a little bit. I want to do a section, say through my model. Maybe I want to understand a bit more about what's going on through the center of it. I'll go to my section tool and I'll add a y-axis plane, and I can pull this across and instantly get a quick section for the model. So maybe I want to look at the makeup of the footings and the slabs and the wall junctions. So I want to check that information. So you can quickly do that, and then there's an explosion tool as well, so you can actually explode the entire model. So if you're really lost, you just want to pull the whole thing apart, and then you can double click on an item, and it will take you into the item. And then you can go show objects, or you can clear that selection and then bring the explosion tool back to the center. The selection tree over here, you've got the selection tree with parent-child relationship. So I want to select all floors. It will go and select all floors in that model for me. But if I want to go further down, I want to know how many in situ concrete floors I have. I can go through and I can select all these items and it will isolate them for me. And then finally, there's properties. So maybe I'm an interior designer and I want to know what type of fittings and finishes there are in my model. So if I zoom into one of these chairs and I want to know information about this chair, I can click on properties, and over here I can see that it's from the Herman Miller Eames collection, and it's assigned on level 1. It's got a different type of finish here, being the ZE finish. So all this information that we've embedded in our Revit model can be cleanly read inside of A360 Team. It even has the URL to the website and things like model numbers and work sets. So a lot of this data comes through and can be read by other non-authors, but they can start to find out information that they need to do their part of the design and build process. So just moving out of that, we now look at the model that I just pushed up the cloud. It's now converted into the viewable model. A couple of things, you can actually download it directly from here. So even if you're not on Collaboration for Revit and you're a fabricator, for example, or someone who just wants to download the model, you can directly download it. You can share the item, and there'll be a few options on how you want to share it. You can send them a link, you can email it, you can embed information. There's a few other tools here for inviting, stopping the alerts if you're getting a few too many things, all these different typical admin commands, and even liking the model. So I'm going to click on the model and just fire it up. And what I want to show here is that this is version 1. So this is the first model we have pushed up to the cloud that we want, say, the fittings and furnishing guys to review. This one started off with the sheet. If I just go here, you can see I pushed up all these views. I didn't push the 3D model. So you've got the opportunity, if you just want to be sharing the different views in the model, you can just push these independently without the 3D model. So I just wanted to share the roof, section 5, and a couple of my unnamed sheet files. And you can see here you've got control over the level of information you want to push out of the model. So if you've got a really complex model with a lot of different views and different people with different work sets, you can just choose those views and just share the information. And there are other tools here just to note. When I'm in my sheet view, I can zoom in here and I can still read information. So I can select on that chair and then go to my properties and just select the chair again. And again, it's going to read the information as well in both 2D and 3D. There's also a measurement tool. So maybe I'm doing the joinery. I can go in here and I can do measurements. And this one currently doesn't work very well with the web browser on this particular view, but it does work very well with the iPad version. So these are still new items. And you'll see as A360 Team becomes developed, there's going to be a lot more functionality coming up in the application. So this is version 1. Now, what I want to do is go back to collaboration for Revit. And there are tools on how you invite team members. And what I want to do is go back to how you push it to A360 Team. So at the moment, the other non-authors can see the first model you pushed up. They're going to be making markups, feeding them back to you. And then they may say, well, look, we want the windows to be a different size, or we want to have shading devices to match BAS requirements. All of that can be commented, and then you're going to go back and make the changes in the model. At the moment, you can see here, my demo model has been pushed to A360 Team. There's a few other options here. You can actually rename the model. You can relinquish the model. You can even view versions. At the moment, there's only one version, but if you need to roll back to a previous version, you can start doing it here from the collaboration from Revit interface. So what I'm going to do here is just go quickly to my plan view, and the client says, well, look, I don't want the window here. I want to bring it over to here, and just ignore the workset stuff at the moment. And that's moved across, and I'm going to sync with Central, and that's doing a sync with Central, but that's not going to go through to A360 Team. It's only going to be the other users who you're collaborating with. A couple of things to note here as well is if you've got linked files, Revit linked files, you have to link them via the cloud. So once that's finished syncing, if I just go back to my PowerPoint, it is this graphic here. The files are linked via A360 through the different firms. So if I go to my Manage tab and Manage Links, if I want to link in a Revit model, I'm not going to add it from my local file, my local network. I'm going to add it from A360 Team. So your structural engineer, your mechanical engineer, electrical engineers, you're going to link in their files from A360 Team. So when they sync with Central, then you can reload their model, and you're going to see it. So if I just click on my cloud tool here, A360, it's my external resource center, Revit collaboration, and then I'm going to be able to link in the models. I did this the other day with the supermarket structure just to show that. I'm not going to do that again today, but this is where you would link the files from. So you do it from the cloud location, you don't do it from the internal locations. And then when the other collaborators sync with Central, you're going to be able to see this information reloaded. When you want to push it out to A360 Team, this is where you go to Manage Models. And what you're going to see when you see my A2K webinar collaboration project, it's going to go from the green tick mark to a little arrow and a box tick. So here we have my webinar demo, and now I've done that sync with Central, and it says, do you want to publish latest? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to let it go, and it's going to give me a little note saying we're doing it. It's going to be viewable on A360. It's going to say why publish. So there's little help pages here. to explain help tools, like what's important, what isn't important, all under the A360 Collaboration for Revit document here. So that's now going to publish, and it will change to being a little green tick when complete. And what I'm going to do here is go back to my A360 Team, and I'm going to do my refresh. And it's going to take a few minutes, but when it's refreshed, we're going to fire it up and you're going to see version 2, and this is going to be the one that we're going to be working with. So just back to the PowerPoint for now. The next one to touch on is Communicator. So some of you may be using Skype or Link Communicator or Messenger. With Collaboration for Revit, you're going to get this really handy Communicator tool to allow you to have direct chats with other team members, send screenshots, or even team chats. It's all real-time communication. So if I just go back to Revit now and just fire this up, you're going to see the Communicator tool. And this is going to fire up. There's nobody in my team online at the moment. They're all in meetings, but it's going to sign me in, and it's going to list some of the other people that I've collaborated with when we were testing this. So we've got Guy and John, and we can instantly send messages to different team members. We can also hover over here. We can send images. We can capture the screen attachments. And also what's important, if I just go to, where are we? My chat here, and where's my recent one that I've had? Where's my recent ones? Oh, Tom's not on this anymore. Okay, so what you can do is with people who you've had chats with in the past, is you can actually export that chat history. So maybe there's been conversations about who moved this, who moved the cable trays from point A to point B. Maybe the ceiling height dropped for some reason because you had to accommodate a VAV unit or air handling unit. You can have this in the chat history chat history window with the mechanical engineer, and then you can save this down. So this can be really handy if there's any complications further along the project. You can say, well, look, the engineer said it was fine. This is the reason why we did it. So this can be a really handy tool for keeping a collection of discussions. And then there's also a timeline, and this tells me when we've synced with Central. It will also tell me about other projects that have been running. So you can see here, this is the A2K webinar demo. There's a batch house demo here. And if we go down a little bit further, there's some notes that I've sent to Tom. And even down here further, John and Guy and a few others have been doing some tests with a supermarket architecture demo data set, and they've been syncing with Central. So you can see all this information about who did what, when and where, and whether it worked or whether it didn't work, and if you wanted to add notes with it, etc. So it's a good little timeline for instant communication with people, and you can access all the different projects from here. You can see who is on those projects, and there's messengers, and then there's also some admin commands is here as well. So I won't go too much into that, but that's a really handy tool. Moving back to the slides, this one here is actually partially a Futures. It is going to work with other cloud services. So you may be using Autodesk Energy Analysis or Rendering or Glue or CFD or Structural Analysis. Collaboration for Revit will start to tie into these type of services. So instead of having to upload the model again and take up your bandwidth and wait for it to upload, it's going to be on the cloud, and you can connect to these other services. So if you need to do a render, you can go to the Collaboration for Revit model and render directly from that model as opposed to having to do it from your desktop. Let's go forward. So before I get into the questions, I just want to go back to the demo model just to show you what's happened here. I just want to go to my refresh, and I want to go to the model here, and this should have pushed it to A360 Team. It has. So now what you'll see here is we're on version 2, and version 2, I didn't change all the sheet files, but you'll see in version 2 the window has been updated. So this allows you to go through the model and make changes, but know that you're on the right sort of version. And again, if you need to roll back, so let me just go back a little bit here, the wrong thing. If you need to roll back to a previous version, you can do that in your Collaboration for Revit interface. And you can download those other versions here as well. Last thing to show is there is a deep dive. So if I go and do a search, and I want to search for concrete, make sure I spell it right, what it's going to do is it's going to go through the model and find all those items with concrete. So you can see here, it tells me what level it's on. So maybe I'm looking at the site, and it's going to take me into the view, and it's going to say floor. It's probably better shown in the 3D view, not the plan view, but if I had the 3D model up here, it would show it a bit better. So back to our common questions. So a lot of people ask about security. We do have an Autodesk Trust Center. We've been using Amazon Web Server EC2 data centers for a very long time now. They're 128-bit encrypted. They're incredibly secure. Banks use the same technology. So anybody who has any queries with regards to security from senior staff, from C-level staff, please check out the Autodesk.com Trust website. There's safe harbor information here on our certifications and how we use cloud services. We also have people, maybe they're not collaborating with other consultants using Revit at present. Maybe they say, well, I'm not going to be doing it. It's just us in our office. We don't really need it. Well, maybe you need to work from home, or you're out on a job site, or you just come out of a meeting, you're at a coffee shop, and you need to access the latest information. If you're on the cloud, if you've got your models in the cloud, you can access the latest information. If you don't want to work late at the office, you may want to go home and eat home-cooked food, look after kids, but you still need to work late at night. You can access the latest live information via the Collaboration for Revit interface and be working on that live model, sync back to Central, and it's going to be there for your other users in other regions or back in your own office. There's a concern that maybe consultants could edit our models. So with Collaboration for Revit, you know who synced the model. So you can see there when I looked at the activity tracker, and I could see, John and Guy been working on the model. I can go and see exactly what they did, and I can also roll back to any previous sync of that model. So there's no worry about people sort of getting in and doing things on the sly. You're going to be able to see it. It's very transparent. There's also other cloud storage solutions like Dropbox. I hear this a lot, but Dropbox. Well, you can't actually view the models, and maybe you want to share it with the client. They've got to download it. Someone's got to open it. Maybe you've got to convert it to a DWF or a 3D PDF. The client can get this on their phone. They can get this on their iPad. They can open that 3D model in a browser or on an iPad, and they can mark up and provide feedback. So it's a really powerful tool for you to share the models with a client as opposed to have to print stuff out, issue it, do all this sort of stuff. So it's a really good way to share information on the cloud. And then as per the Communicator tool, all of your team's communications are tied directly to that project. So you're going to have the in-product tool for Collaboration for Revit, but then also in the activity feed here, if I just click out of this, you're going to have all the users and what they've done on the project. So it's just been me, myself, and I for a while. But you can add notes and comments, and you can tag items. And here, I've made a note. And you're going to get notifications if you're on that project as well. So you can see here, all this information has been recorded. And then finally, we have storage. So each user in A360 Team is going to get 10 gigabytes of storage. And that's pretty good. I mean, no Revit models that I'm aware of are 10 gigabytes, although I know some people are pushing that. You've got 10 gigabytes of storage. What will happen is it's going to be each user gets 10 gigabytes of storage. So you can actually start to pull these together. They're going to be available for active projects. You're also going to have your 25 gigabytes that you get on A360 Drive. So that's not going to affect that storage. So you're still going to have your 25 gigabytes. Then with A360 Team, each user gets 10 gigabytes, and you can start pulling these together. So you're going to start getting really large amounts of storage, 10 users, 100 gigs for running those projects. So it's really going to add up, and it's going to benefit your storage capacity. So finally, some really good resources here. We have our Autodesk Knowledge Network. So let's just double check. We have our Autodesk Knowledge Network here. We've been building this up over the last 4 years. It's a really great site for doing troubleshooting, articles, tutorials, downloads. It helps you getting started. It's a really helpful site to check out. We have the customer resource Revit help site. So when I clicked on my help for Revit collaboration before, it takes me to the A360 collaboration. So it tells you all about the workflows, your entitlements, explains team hubs. It's all there to answer any of your questions. It explains link models and all the rest. And then finally, some other great resources that I'd strongly recommend you check out: the Autodesk University website. So in Vegas every year in December, we have Autodesk University, and we have customers come from all over the world. And the papers are all recorded, so you can sit there in your lunchtime, watch the videos, and you can download the PDF copies, and you can see what worked, what they did to set up their project, implement it, how they collaborated with other users. So Autodesk University is a fantastic site. There's also the Knowledge Network, as I mentioned before. The interface is very easy and intuitive to get started. Partners, so A2K, have got some fantastic technical experts, but also they're very knowledgeable in the implementation, and they know how to set up folders, how best to get this type of product working with your firm, with your bandwidth, and collaborating with other consultants. So definitely reach out to your partners to help with the implementation. In product, we have embedded links to the product to help you get up and running. And then finally over here on the right, we have some futures. And what I mean when I talk about futures, we do have some marketing stuff on this, but some other good sites that I'd recommend to check out is our Autodesk Labs. And Autodesk Labs have some really good tools that you can get access to for free. They're beta applications, but they'll start to enhance your applications. And for anybody who really wants to check out some insane new stuff, we have Autodesk, Autodesk Research. And just recently, we've updated this website. So there's a lot of information on new projects and new technologies that we're investigating. You may have heard a lot about the future of making things. You'll see a lot of stuff here on Autodesk Autodesk Research. So you can start to see here across all these different type of industries. So design and fabrication, 3D printing, it's all happening here on Autodesk Research. And then finally, just one other one, I am getting some questions around the API of certain cloud applications. If you're interested in that side of the business, check out Autodesk Forge. And Autodesk Forge has some information on how our cloud services are working and how it all becomes developed. There's information about programs, conferences, and sponsorship. But if we go down here, you can explore the platform. You can also learn about other innovators and developers. And even further here, I think when we go and explore the platform, there's access to some of our newer applications, our newer cloud applications, which will link into A360 Team. So if I just go down a few, there's Fusion 360, that's our inventor on the cloud. There's also this one. So I just wanted to highlight this because it is new, you can get access to it, and it's called the View and Data, which is going to be the next part of A360 Team. So here we have the 2D, 3D navigation, viewer extensions, But this one here is a visual reporting tool, and you can all access this for free, and you can start looking at different demo data sets. And this goes beyond just a basic house model, which I've been showing today. If you want to look at the Korean megachurch, one of my favorite models, Sarang, you can look at this model, and it's going to flip across, and it's going to give you access to all the different data in the model. So what they've done is they've pushed up the 3D view. The sheets are here. They've been shown at the same time as the model, and we can go through the framing plan, and we can see it here, both in plan and in 3D. And then there's different reports here, and these reports will give you percentages on what features in the model, and then it will highlight when you select it. So definitely check out Autodesk Forge and have a look at some of our new technologies. There's a lot to happen this year, and it's getting pretty exciting. So with that, I will open the floor to Q&A. So just to remind you, for anybody who is new to this, you can type it in the question box, or you can type it in the chat window. I've got them both open here. Okay, so question number 1. So this is from Adrian Moore. Hi Adrian, I am going to give you a call back. It's from meetings in the morning. So hello, question for the latter. Can team members add comments inside the families and have that information sync back down from the cloud to the Revit file, then to the family, i.e. cost information on each chair? Well, you could add that to the family and it could be read, but I don't think you can do it via the cloud. You can't do it through A360 Team at the moment, as far as I'm aware. This will probably be something to investigate on the Forge side. So this is going to be the one to watch, where you can start doing or recording some of this information. At the moment, you can see on the screen, it's just reporting back on, where are we? Just on the percentages of items in the models. I can't speculate as to what it will be in the future, but look, here we've got materials, reports, and there are certain reports on different types of items here in terms of the materials. So keep an eye out on this. I can't give you an answer on that. So it looks like this is part of the, oh, sorry. Yes, Adrian, sorry. This is for manual status. Okay, so yeah, that was the question for Manuel. So please, yeah, check out this. This is going to be probably the one to have a look at for getting into things like adding different types of themes, maybe for costs. So you could look at these sort of tools here in Autodesk Forge. It looks like that's my only question for today so far. Let me just check how many people we've got on the line. We've still got 16 people online. So again, any questions, please just type them in. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions in the presentation, but if anybody does have any future questions, I can put this on the slide here. This is my email address, samuel.callister@autodesk.com. Please feel free to grab that and fire me an email. I can follow up. Okay, another new question here has just come through. Okay, great. So question from Wing Ling. Can you comment on the performance and reliability on the difference on Revit server? Revit server is sort of a bit different. I can't really comment on the performances. It all depends on where you're located, your bandwidth, and what type of connection you've got. The servers are located in the US, but there is going to be other servers in the Singapore region, as far as I'm aware, which will be caching data. So you will start to see performance speed up. today the performance wasn't too bad on a small model, given that I was running Citrix at the same time. So it wasn't too bad, and I'm just doing this on the wireless at the Autodesk office in North Ryde. White papers, Adrian, I'll get back to you on this. We do have some OTC white papers, I believe, and we do have also, this is probably another one to look at, on our Autodesk case study website, case study, collaboration for Revit. We do have 3 case studies here. So we have 3 customers. They are US because it's brand new in this region. So it's been running out for a year in the US, and we've got some customer case studies. You can download these PDFs and you can read their comments. There's also a video, and it will tell you what their issues were, what the solution was, and then how they implemented it either within their firm or beyond with other stakeholders. So we do have case studies here sort of explaining a bit more on it. So next question from Adam Clark. How is Autodesk charging for this service? So we're not talking about price on this presentation. The price, because you can do it either via the month, via the quarter, so every 3 months, or via the year. The price will vary, and it depends on what type of subscription you want to buy into, and it'll be going for your reseller as well, so they'll be able to discuss price. It is not much more than $1,000, but again, talk to your resellers. They'll be able to explain the price and how it's broken down. Another question just relating to that. There is no trial for this application because it's a cloud technology. It is going to be a paid service. So if you do want to trial it, you could do a 1-month trial. You could pay for 1 month and then test it. With the application, you're going to get Collaboration for Revit and A360 Team included. So if you want to test it, trial it for a month. It won't cost you that much. And then if you're happy with it, you could use it for 3 months on a project or a year, and then the price comes down. Okay, so I'm just going to double check the chat window here. Probably just going back to white papers, if we go back to that question, there's information here. This will probably be the best site to look at. So there's Communicator, comments, select and views. This is sort of your site to look at information. In fact, I'll just double check. Sometimes we do host these on our sites. Here we go. So Adrian, we do have a white paper here that you can access. So for anybody who wants to go to it, this is just a Google search. We host a lot of these here. You can see this one's a little bit light, and that's why I think probably the Autodesk Knowledge Network site is probably a more in-depth one. The other ones we have here are more to do with IFC and Kobe data. So. Why am I using Citrix? The other question from Adrian. Citrix is the tool that powers the GoToWebinar. Okay, so we're on the hour now. Any further questions? I do need to wrap it up, but any further questions? Please feel free to email me directly. My email is samuel.mcallister@autodesk.com, or contact your reseller and they can answer questions. They can talk about pricing, implementation, and any questions they can't answer, they can forward on to us at Autodesk, and we can come back to you with a direct answer. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop the recording. This will be shared by A2K. Thank you very much for taking the time to join our webinar, and thank you